Hello, everyone. I am Tara Argo hosting today's episode of Notes from the Field. A little bit about me. I have a degree in journalism and have spent many years teaching and participating in environmental and outdoor education. I am a connector by nature and have been very successful in building professional networks. I am passionate about nature and am truly curious about the wide world in which we live. I'm really excited to be here with these ladies today to live vicariously through them as we connect. Notes from the Field is a 1 hour reunion where I bring together the people from Green Adventures, Extraordinary Eco Tours, and Safaris. It's going to be a roundtable discussion where we sit at a virtual table with the trip leaders, guides, participants, and others to give a glimpse into their adventure together. They're going to share best moments, lessons learned, and any advice for those considering this venture. Today, we are going to talk about the Costa Rica Wild and Off the Beaten Path Women's Adventure. And at our table is trip leader Kelly, along with some of our adventure buddies of Monica, Jennifer, Cherry, Steph, and Becky. And then Pepe should be joining us here shortly. So let's just go ahead and get started. Kelly, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the most recent trip to Costa Rica?
So my name's Kelly Van Lennon, and I actually met Tara Short in college. We went to the same school and got the same degree together, and have, known each other from way, way back, and started working with her, I would say maybe 7+ years ago, and doing trips for her. And so I go around and do leading of trips to places like Costa Rica, Baja, and other exciting places that we go to. And so I get to share all of these really cool destinations with people. And I think that's one of my favorite things, is seeing it through fresh eyes, because, I get to go and see these places year after year after year, which is amazing, and it never gets old. But I also get to see it through fresh eyes, which is really, really cool. Yeah.
That's such a good point, too, getting to see it, which probably makes it never get old. All of the fresh eyes, and just it's almost like from a child's eyes each time to see the different things. Um, and Pepe, I think, is joining us currently, but we'll go ahead. And Monica, would you like to share a little bit about yourself? And was this your first adventure? And tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. It was my first adventure, and I want to thank Steph and Sherry for telling me about it. That's how I found out about it. And it was fantastic. Everyone I talked to said Costa Rica is beautiful. You will love it. And I did not come away disappointed. I do, like many of you, absolutely love nature. I enjoy spending time in nature, and I'm sure you will talk about the highlights, but for me, everything in Costa Rica, the scenery, everything we did, it was all just special. For me, I'll just say the highlights started on day one, and then every day there was something better, and the grand finale of zip lining through the trees. I mean, I'm getting excited talking about it. I just can't wait to talk more about that, but I'll let someone else talk for just a few minutes then, and I'll come back to my highlights.
Absolutely. I just love it. I mean, have you ever seen so many smiles? So you know how exciting trips are when you get to come back and really get to talk about it and reminisce a little bit. Jennifer, would you like to share? We can't hear you just yet.
Darn. Yeah, it was my second women's trip. I had done another one to Peru in horseback riding, and I loved that. So when I saw this one come up, I was very curious. And just to let you know, I had a choice between two trips to Costa Rica, and I chose this one. It was a little bit more expensive, but I thought it was worth it because it had such an education focus. And it's called not called Green Adventures for nothing. And I knew that we would have Pepe with us the whole time, and he's a naturalist, and you know, that was, you know, that said to me, it was serious of, you know, that we could learn a lot. And I really wanted to learn a lot. And I wanted to be busy, and we were busy, lots of hikes all the time, and just learning and seeing, and it was a small enough group that we, the women, all had a lot of time to really get to know each other too. So that was really special. It was a great trip.
I really love your point about, you know, the education piece of it as well. You know, it's so important to conserve what we do have. And so I love that you guys got to experience that, and that the naturalist and Kelly and all of their years of experience allow you to get to see it from a different perspective and come away learning so much more than just an average trip. Wonderful. Cherry, how about you?
Yeah, hi. I really, I can't say enough about this trip. I've done many kind of wilderness trips like this, mostly with my family. And this was great to do it in the company of other women because the camaraderie was really wonderful, and to make new friends, which was an added bonus. But I have to say, I don't think I've ever taken a trip where I have been so impressed with the guides and the leaders. I mean, Kelly and Pepe are literally off the charts amazing in their knowledge, in their confidence in moving people around, in their ability to, you know, meet with changes without just not even getting flustered about it. Just like, okay, we were going to do that, but now we're going to do this. And I just, yeah, it was just, as Jennifer said, the educational part was phenomenal. Knowing about the plants and the animals and the snakes and the bugs and everything, and even the people that they connected us with while we were there, you know, had such amazing stories to tell. So I, you know, for me to pick out a highlight, and I'm going to have to really think, because I'm not sure I had a highlight. There were so many.
Isn't that the best trip though, that you can say,
Yeah.
like, I can't even pick one thing. It's like all the things.
Yeah.
Pepe, you came in at a really good time because they were speaking so highly of you and Kelly and how wonderful you were for this group. And I'm sure all of the other ones that get to come and experience Costa Rica with you. Would you like to kind of pop in and tell a little bit about yourself? Can you hear us okay? Uh-oh. Oh no, is that an audio thing? Pepe, you just let us know if you can hear us.
I hear you.
Oh,
It's very
great.
choppy
Well, what?
here though, but I hear you. Hi.
Well, hello, how are you
But
today?
it's for, I have to say, it's 4:20 here. I put all kinds of alarm for this meeting, but it's so I wasn't aware that you were 1 hour ahead. So my apologies.
No worries, no worries. We're just so glad that you could join us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and this recent trip to Costa Rica that the ladies came to Costa Rica?
Well, there's not much that I can tell about myself that these ladies know already, except that I enjoyed the trip very much. I really enjoyed it. I had a great time. This is by far one of the easiest and most enjoyable group that I've had as a guide. So I was really pleased when the trip was finished. And not that the trip was finished, but that the satisfaction, the feeling of being so fulfilled and so happy, you know, that I was on a high when the trip was finished, because of all the energy that I got from all the participants. You know, it was really, really fulfilling as a guide.
Yeah, I can just imagine, and you've done this a lot over the years, and you probably do get a lot of energy from them as they go their way. How long have you been leading?
23 years approximately.
23 years, so much knowledge in that 23 years. We're so excited that you could join us, and we're just having a roundtable kind of discussion, Pepe. We're going to talk a little bit about our favorite memories, lessons learned, and advice for those that are considering coming to visit you in Costa Rica. Steph, would you like to go next?
Sure. This was my first women's trip. I had some trepidation about it. I think within the first hour that totally was blown away. Kelly was welcoming. All of the women on the trip were awesome. And I, like everyone else, I don't have a highlight. I agree with what everybody said. The education was superb. Every activity was better than the one before. I looked forward to everything we did. And I too can't say enough about Kelly and Pepe. That was awesome, just beyond any expectations that I had. One thing that nobody's talked about yet, and probably we would get to that sooner or later, but one thing I really appreciated about this trip, I've done a lot of travel to the Boundary Waters in Minnesota, but nothing like this in the rainforest or anything equal to that. I read every word that was printed ahead of time, probably 3 times, and my advice to somebody would be, do that. Everything they said was true. It was all important, and anything where I chose to do my own thing, I regretted.
Such a good point, and just doing that research prior to even going and preparing yourself, even if you've been on other trips, it's a very important to do, and then trusting your guides and your leaders and their
Well, I
knowledge.
didn't do the research, Green Adventures did, and it was really, really well done.
Awesome. That is a really, really great point. Thank you so much, Steph. Becky, why don't you tell us, introduce yourself? We can't hear you just yet. Yeah, you're still on mute.
There we go.
There you, yes.
This was my first ever like this. I've been following Adventures for quite a while online and have looked at the trip, and in December it just clicked that this was the time trip was the one to do. Like I said, I love the out nature, like Monica said. I've a lot, but I've never anything like this, and I was so excited to do it. Not disappointed at all. Somebody else has said the passion that Kelly and Pepe to the work they do was so, and it just stuck with all of it. And the learning thing, I couldn't even possibly recall I learned about, but the ecosystem, everything's works together. Then just the fun, the camaraderie, it was awesome. Being outdoors, all was fabulous. It was really.
It sounds like taking that leap into just actually going for it was absolutely worth it. Yeah, wonderful. Mary, can you hear us okay? Feel free to come on if you would like.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, how are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
We're doing great. We're just having a little discussion here about, each person has introduced themselves and kind of told us a little bit about them and if this was their first adventure with Green Adventures.
Yeah, and sorry I'm late. Got caught on a work-related call, unfortunately.
It's okay.
But it was my first experience with Green Adventures, and I joined at the very last minute. which was actually pretty cool that Tara could get me in within like a couple days notice. So I really appreciate her being able to do that. And you know, I had a great experience. I guess I have a question, and I don't know if you've talked to Kelly, but I was just curious if I thought the group got along like amazingly well. And I was wondering if this is typical or atypical, or if you had any insight on that.
So I can address that. Usually, the groups do usually get along really, really well. I think part of what helps that happen is that we cover some ground rules in the beginning, talking about, to stay away from things like religion and politics, and just focus on the experiences that we're having at the time and just the specialness of being present in the moment. And I think that helps a lot to make people really appreciate what's going on around them versus concentrating on what might make us different. It's concentrating on what we're all really loving and appreciating at the time. And then I think just in general, the people who sign up for Green Adventures trips are just a really cool, special kind of people that sign up. You're always up for adventure. Everybody's always super friendly and very encouraging of one another. Yeah, it's, there are occasionally where we'll get a couple personalities where they might not integrate as quickly into the group, but our group, especially this trip, everyone immediately became best friends. And I think you are all, every group is special, but your group was really, really special. And Pepe and I both, had kind of talked about that you guys were all full of awesome questions and had just appreciated things so much. And that makes it so much easier for trip leaders and for guides, because you appreciate everything that's going on around you. Well,
so let me get this straight. So you're saying that if I join another Green Adventure trip, it's going to be as amazing and all the women are going to be as amazing as this one?
100%.
Awesome.
And I think Mary's expecting all of you to go on the next trip too.
You might not have as
Mary.
good as an amazing a roommate, Mary.
Oh, yeah, likewise, Jennifer.
This is an interesting conversation, Mary, because I actually did an interview yesterday with the participants from the Baja trip. And you know what they said their number one thing is connection to one another. They literally bonded so much that they were all very hopeful to see each other, and they were planning additional trips. And so just from listening, it sounds like it's a very common occurrence.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we, some of the other trips, I see people, so there have been people who have been on, for Green Adventures, I've had clients who have been on at least 5 of my trips. And so I get to see them year after year after year. And then we do reunions as well. Like, we just held a reunion for our Trinidad and Tobago trip of a group of us that, I don't know, it was probably 6 years ago that we went. And we got together in Arizona and did a bunch of stuff in Arizona together. So, and I know that was probably one of the things that right away happened within this group. Everybody was like, oh, do you want to come? Everybody's welcome in Minnesota, and you're welcome here in Wisconsin, and you're welcome here. And so it's always nice to see the friendships form where people are, keep in contact with one another. And then you can be supported throughout all of life with one another, not just necessarily within the trip. So it becomes like a really good friendship that you have for years and years and years.
I love that. That's such a good answer. Pepe, I can't help but see the monkeys behind you. You have to tell us about that picture. Number one, are those your neighbors a lot of the time? And do you get to see the similar, like they were saying, this camaraderie and like get to have any sort of reunions and things in Costa Rica from some of the participants that have come before. Oh, I hope we didn't lose them.
I'm sorry, I'm staying in a place where the train is part of your question.
Oh, that's okay. Can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, now.
Okay, perfect.
Really, you
No, I
hear me
was
too. Right.
I was just saying I can't help but look at that gorgeous picture of those monkeys, and we're wondering if those were your neighbors a lot of the time. And then if you get to see any other participants that maybe come back for other visits to Costa Rica and kind of these reunions that they're speaking of.
Well, there has been a lot of talk about coming back, of course. The Green Adventure activities in Costa Rica are very limited to the south. So what they see in such a short trip is just a little corner of the country. So there have been talks about seeing some other places besides the south. And yeah, these are my neighbors. We have in Costa Rica 4 species. And I think that some of us in this trip saw all 4 of them, which is in that area where we were in the Osa Peninsula. We have to get you to one of those trips, by the way, so that you can experience it firsthand. This Zoom program is from my son. My son follows online school, so he is the one who gets all these backgrounds of pictures that I take on my trips, and he loads all these back. I don't do any of this. It's him who loads all these backgrounds. He's at school sometimes when they are at the break. He starts just showing all the slides and showing his friends the pictures. He is a very proud naturalist also. He's only 11, but he's always finding stuff and showing, his friends all the pictures of things that we take. But yeah, these are very common sightings in our neighborhood. Sometimes they sleep right on top of our property, and they wake us up. The howler monkeys wake us up at 4 or 5 in the morning. Nature is part of our life, has been for a long time, and yeah, we carry it in our blood for sure.
Oh, that is so sweet. We carry it in our blood. So are they very friendly? They look pretty friendly.
No,
no, they're not
not
friendly.
at all. No, they're not.
They're mischievous then.
They are very naughty, yes.
I really love to, and I'm sure that you guys do as well, knowing that Pepe is training up other naturalists that can also serve and teach all of us that don't get to see that every day, right? We don't get to see that. I know I live in an urban area and I just don't have access to that. Any chance I get, I'm always like going to the woods though, just to kind of be in nature, and so it sounds like you get to live that every single day though. I would love to hear, and we'll just go around the room. I would love to hear if there was one thing that stood out to you, because I know all of you said there's just like all of these things. There was one thing that stood out to you that you're going to carry with you the rest of your life. What would that be? And anyone, feel free to just kind of hop in.
I know that for me, like I said, it was all wonderful, but I was blown away by the kayak mangroves. It was just like magical. It was just another world. It was just the roots and the trees was almost like artwork. And then sudden appears the monkeys, the trees right over our heads across the and it was just really stuck out for me. It was all fun. Really was one of my highlights.
That's incredible. And I'm assuming that the way that they grow too, it tells like how old they are probably, because those have to be there for a really long time, right? So you probably learned a lot of the history about that as well.
And I just want to add to something Becky said about kayaking in the mangroves. After we finished the trip, Ranky said, take the peace of the mangroves with you. And I just loved that statement, take the peace of the mangroves with you.
That is really special. I'm going to write that down because we often need a lot of peace right here in America, you know, and so that's something that we can think of or even look back at all those pictures, you know, and find that peace. Monica, was there another piece that was really, really special to you?
Yeah, you said one, but I'm going to say two.
Yeah.
one
Oh,
of
as
the-
many as you want.
Okay, well, as many as I want, then one of them was, you know, we started off in the pod of dolphins playfully swimming around us. You know, then we went hiking in the rainforest amidst these magnificent grand trees with Pepe setting up his telescope to look at all these birds, these colorful, beautiful, every different bird we could see. And then there was kayaking in the mangroves, and then there was snorkeling above the corals and the zip lining through the trees, you know, where you're eye level with the monkeys. I mean, those were all fabulous, awesome, beautiful scenery. But the two experiences that I want to add, one of them was just watching the leafcutter ants, the videos of them crawling up and down the trees into their massive hill alongside the trail, just their highway, their routes, and the number of times that we had to say, watch out, you're going to step on the leafcutter ants. It was just, to me, that was a unique experience that was wow. And then when we were making the coconut oil, it was really quite an experience to try to split open the coconut. We watched it demonstrated. They made it look like a piece of cake, and it was not. And I'm glad I had that chance to just try my hand at splitting open a coconut. I think those were my two experiences that really stand out as, you know, wow, cool.
And did you get better at the coconuts as you went along, or what did you leave still not a master?
Oh no, I had one chance at it, and I think, you know, it was just work at it, work at it, work at it. And, you know, if you work at it long enough, you might get it open. But it was just a really cool experience, and I'm thankful to have that opportunity. So I think those were two of my experiences that I will take with me. And of course, the mangrove, that was a highlight too. I love to kayak. That's one of the things I enjoy doing here in Kentucky. And take the piece of the mangroves with you. I am going to remember that forever. That was wonderful.
Oh, I love that. And I think it's so interesting that the leafcutter ants really stick out to you. Having that conversation, and one lady said, you know, I had these gray whales and all of these animals, but it was the octopus. Like, and I didn't even go in knowing I was going to want to see an octopus. So I'm sure you didn't think about leafcutter ants when you decided to go on that trip, right? So
and I'll just add one more thing. You know, we saw spiders and scorpions and snakes. Oh my, spiders and scorpions and snakes. Oh my, and just a million other, you know, and then there was the sloth and so many highlights. It was just a fabulous trip. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. She's painting all these pictures for me visually. I know that it's just really incredible to listen to. Does anyone else have something that they might want to share? Yeah, Jennifer.
I would say my highlight was seeing the monkeys in the wild. You know, we saw 3 different kinds of monkeys, and I loved it. I mean, we saw them eating bananas. We saw them, you know, swinging from branch to branch. We saw babies. We saw parents. We just saw them in different environments, and I just, you know, the ease with which they swing through the trees, and just really being able to realize that they're just wild in their habitat. And, you know, it really brought home to me that we need to really educate ourselves on to keep wild animals in the wild, and not think of them as pets, and not think of them as being friendly. And they're wild, and it's nice to see them at a distance and just doing their thing. And I just love that. We saw 3 different kinds, and I loved it.
And I think Pepe's changed his background, so that may have been one of the ones that you had the chance to see. I just
No, I
love
don't,
that you can
I don't
change.
think we saw those ones. We didn't see the squirrel ones. We saw
Yeah.
howlers, we saw um spider monkeys and white-faced capuchins. Yeah, beautiful.
And I have,
Mm.
Tara, I've got some, I know
Do
that
you
we
want to show
should,
some pictures?
sure, if you,
Sure.
I can
Is that where
give
you
it
want to
a shot.
just, yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yeah.
tell you, is that I can share some of the pictures that we, I have to figure out how to navigate there again, but okay.
that's okay. I
All
would
right.
love that because I think it's
So I
just
can
neat
show,
for us
and
to
I
get to
think I've
see
got
that.
yeah, and I think I've got a video of the leaf cutters even on there. So let's see. I think I've got pretty much, okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Oh. Okay, so let's see. I do have a leaf cutter video on here, but here are, I know one of you had mentioned the dolphins. And so when we first arrived there, we go on a tour with changing tides and we see two different types of dolphins. And at one time we were surrounded by about 400 spotted pantropical dolphins, which is pretty amazing. Let me get back to the,
I just cannot even imagine 400 dolphins. That just seems like so many.
it was. Yeah, it was. And we got to see, the neat thing is that you've got an expert right on the boat with you. And so they're telling you what their behavior and activities are as as you're watching them. And we got to hear them vocalize and, yeah, get to learn and see some incredible things. And then was it you, Monica? One of you said leaf cutters. Here's a video of the incredible leaf cutters. And I think, that's probably one of my favorite things too, is we actually walked past a highway of leaf cutters at one point, where they are going into bunches of different directions. And they're so incredible and beautiful.
They're so bright green.
So that's what they're carrying. The green that
Oh,
you're
okay. I was
looking at-
like, they look so pretty.
yeah, the green that you saw was actually the leaves that they're carrying. And you can actually see when they carry different, so sometimes you'll see a red highway, sometimes you'll see a yellow highway, and it depends on what they're cutting up at that time. So in this picture, you'll see that they're carrying pieces of bright green leaf, but sometimes they'll be cutting up hibiscus flowers, and their little travel corridor will look red because they're cutting up the hibiscus. And I think this is a leaf cutter as well. Yeah. There was one point when we were coming from La Leona where there were a couple trails of leaf cutters that converged on one another, and that's incredible to see because it's just like a little moving ocean of bugs in the background. It's pretty cool.
I think it reiterates the importance of us even caring for the smallest of creatures, I mean, because you don't think about, or I wouldn't have thought about the leaf cutter ant. So, wow.
Here's a good example. So this is a good example of, like, you can see in the foreground, you can see the leaf cutters carrying different cut shapes of the leaves. And these are a little bit more of a maroon color, but then you can see in the background just the enormity of the entire colony of the leaf cutters. I think that's part of what's really cool about Costa Rica, is learning about the enormity of how things are interconnected, and how they work together and how we affect that, and to be able to just get to experience that as well. Let's see, I know I have, and here is a picture of the coconut workshop, another neat thing is to see people experience things that they have access to in their everyday life, things like coconut oil, and that they can just easily get out of a jar and go ahead and use. But they actually get to see how complex and hard it is to actually make that coconut oil. And so to see them actually put two and two together, that this is a really, a really complex process, and that it's hard to to get to the actual end product of the coconut oil, and have an appreciation of all the work that goes into the actual end product of it, and see people put those things together, I think is one of the other things that makes it also really special to see those connections made. Now you need to.
And I
Can
think
you
it's
see?
appreciate. I can see you.
Okay.
The appreciation that you probably all came home with. It's a different appreciation, for nature, for products that are made, for all of those things. And that's just enriching in our lives, Thank you so much for sharing those. Such beautiful pictures. Does anybody else have just that moment or those memories that you really would take with you forever?
I think for me, it was along the lines of the leafcutter ants, but I'm used to vacations where you're looking for the big bang. And on this trip, it was the little tiny things like the leaf cutters, or Puppy held up a branch with a million little tiny ants and said, look closely. If one of these touches you, it's going to hurt for a while. And I think he got stung actually, or bit, or whatever they do. But everywhere we walked, we would walk for 10 feet and someone would see something, a bird or a tree that had something going on, or roots or insects or an animal. And to me, that was the magical part, is that every minute held something new that I hadn't ever experienced before, or if I had, I hadn't thought about it before.
That makes the trip so special. Cherry, did you want to chime in?
Well, I was just going to reiterate that, how impressed I was with Pepe, especially because we would be walking along, and I'm used to hiking and watching my feet maybe, or looking at the trees, and in all of the leaves and everything else, he would stop and say, oh, wait, and he would bend over and pick up something, be a frog or a toad, whatever it was, no bigger than his thumbnail. How in the world do you see those things? It's like he has some sort of radar that allows him to sense these things as we're moving along. It's truly amazing. And I would agree with Monica. The mangroves was the inward, like the deep inward part of the journey. There was something magical that happened there. I'm sure we each had our own individual magical moments in there with connection. It just, I still don't really have words to say how important that was. And then my big outward moment, maybe I had more than one, but zip lining, which I've never done in my 73 years. And it was like unbelievable. It's like, I want to do that again. It was so fantastic.
And then you get to swing through the trees like the monkeys, right?
Yes,
it's so
yes.
fun.
It is. It's just so freeing, and just the big yahoo. Just great.
I
We had
love
a group
how you
come through with us, ziplining as well with the women's group, a group of monkeys. So you get to see them from underneath a lot as they travel through the canopy. But when you're ziplining, you can be on their level. And so when we were ziplining, we were on one of the platforms, and a group of monkeys came through, and you can actually see at eye level what they're doing and their antics as well. And I think that is part of what makes the ziplining experience so interesting, is that a lot of times you're looking up into the canopy and seeing things from ground level, but during that experience, you're actually up in the rainforest canopy, and yeah, you get to see things on. It's a totally different experience.
Oh, I can just imagine when you're actually on their level and how interesting that probably is. And you just said something too, Cherry, that I have heard before too, is it seems like there's almost like a little bit of an inward personal growth that some people get to experience when they go in the mangroves. It's just really interesting to hear such incredible feedback, because it's almost like they get to have this experience that, again, they get to take with them forever.
It's really almost ancient wisdom that is whispering to you on some level. It's
that gives me chills.
Otherworldly.
Yeah. And Pepe, like, what made you so in love with nature to even find the little bitty creatures that are like the size of your thumbnail? Obviously you've done this for many, many years, but was there something that just happened, or share a little bit about that?
We have done this trip for about 8 years already. And so we kind of are able to, I don't want to sound arrogant, but we kind of are able to predict a little bit where things are going to be or might be or could be by recognizing the habitat of it. So like when we were to the night hike on the river, I was almost sure we were going to see a snake. And right after the ladies group, we had a student group, and we did another trip and we saw another snake. So it's not that we have superpower. Has given us the trees can tell us, sorry, the train is going again. So this tree might be fruiting. So I can predict, maybe monkeys could be here and give this tree or this typical or specific habitat 5 minutes just to see if it's going to yield, something. And when we went on the trail with so much litter on the ground, so many leaves, we have different species of frogs from a big family called litter frogs, and they are called litter frogs for a reason, and that's because they live inside or between the leaves. So if you take a minute just to see if that habitat might give you some surprise, you might actually find something. I have to give credit though to the participants. The ladies were very sharp. They were finding things. 9 pair of eyes cannot compete with only one. I was no match with their skills too, because they were also finding things. And sometimes I would hear from the back of the line, Pepe, turn back, because they find something that I didn't find. And many of the sightings that we had wouldn't have been possible with the help of the others in the group, because everybody is looking at a different direction at a specific given time. So I need to give them credit because they found a whole bunch of stuff. And one of the things that made this group successful is that people were able to let go of their fears in the first time in the wild, in the tropical rainforest. And that's our first worries as tour leaders or tour guides with the group. How did you feel when you first saw this? How did you, or why did you lose so much to be able to do the zip line, for example, in Cherry's case? But to be honest, and I want to add something that is more mundane and ordinary, but we as guides sometimes also let go of our apprehensions and we do things for the first time. And in 23 years, I did something for the first time because I felt so comfortable with this group that I also let go of my fears and my worries, and I did something with this group for the first time, and I'm going to share it with you.
We
Oh, I
can't
can't see it.
because your
I'm sorry.
background's on.
I'm going to take
Oh,
this
you'll
back
have to
over.
turn your background on for just a
Yeah.
minute. Oh, I can't wait. Did you guys know? Did you ladies know this?
No,
Oh,
The suspense is killing me.
I know.
Yeah.
Show us the phone.
oh, I love it. That
How
can't be
about
your
that?
first time, Pepe.
How about that? I never danced
Oh, that's
with
right.
anybody.
Yeah.
I don't believe it was your first time.
It was. Like I play around with my wife, you know, like I pretend dancing, but never with anybody else. So I was really proud of myself. It was like doing the first time that doing the zip line for the first time. You know, it's like I'm proud I did it.
Oh, that's hysterical.
Oh, that is so fun. Thank you so much for sharing that. Isn't it so fun to just hear like what each person takes away from a trip like this? It's just really neat that it wasn't even the animals in Pepe's case, it was that he got to dance for the first time with one of the guests. I
Monica,
just
I
love that.
danced with Monica. She was brave also.
I love
I
that.
guess I should have said that was truly one of my highlights too. Thank you, Pepe.
You guys will neither one of you will forever forget that. Thank you for sharing. Does anyone else have anything that they might want to say about that? About their favorite moment? And if not, we're going to move into any lessons learned or any advice. Go ahead, Cherry.
I have one thing that
Mhm.
this is going to stay with me forever. When we would walk to the bathroom at night, of course, with our headlights on, the grass was sparkling like diamonds. I mean, it was, I thought, okay, this is dew on the, and it's just reflecting off of my headlight. And I said something to Kelly about it, and she goes, oh no, those are spiders. Those are just spider eyes reflecting in your headlight. And it was like, it literally was like Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. It was so, again, another magical moment. All those eyes from those little bugs, and not so little ones as well, but it was, I won't ever forget that. And there's no way I could take a picture of that. It just is my Kodak moment here in my head. I
And
don't know.
sometimes those are the best moments.
Yeah.
You know, that we don't even get to capture, but we have that mental image forever.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And now I can't quit thinking of Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. So, so when I visit, I'm going to be looking for that for
You
sure.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. There is no doubt. I definitely have to be on this trip. I would love to know though, if any of you have any of those lessons learned or any sort of advice that you might have that you would be willing to share for those that are considering going on this specific trip. And feel free, you just hop right in. And Kelly, you may have some too.
I would
Becky, go ahead.
say that pay close attention to the material you get ahead of time, because pictures cover everything you needed to know. It was great. Don't take any more than the list, even if you're tempted. I think I packed and unpacked like 3 times trying to get stuff out that wasn't on the list. So pay close attention to that, and all the they give you ahead of time. It prepares really, really well. Yeah. Then when we had the Facebook group ahead of time, questions. That was invaluable.
I like
Great,
that
great
part too.
points. Yeah. Kelly, did you have something else?
I guess my thing that I would share with someone who's looking into doing one of these trips is to just go for it. There's always a lot of anxiety and people are hesitant. Will I get along with the group? Is it going to be safe? You know, am I going to have enough things to do? Am I going to have enough things to eat and things like that? And just know that this is the type of vacation that it's kind of nice because we take everything for you. So you don't have to worry about activity to activity. You're going to let us do all of that for you. And you can just go ahead and take everything in and experience and learn what the rest of the group. And so people are always, you know, you can see a little bit of the anxiety when people are talking on the Facebook group ahead of time, wondering about packing lists and things like that. But you can pretty much see that. And I see it on every single time that I'm a trip leader. You see that anxiety just disappear as soon as they get there because they know that they're going to be really well taken care of, and that it's going to be a really fun and safe experience. And so that would be just my piece of advice for people who are, you know, hesitating on whether they should do something like this or not. And I say 100% just jump in with, you know, both feet because it's a pretty unique and amazing experience.
So many words of wisdom there. You can definitely tell you've led many of these. Anyone else willing to share? You know, I think Becky had mentioned, and when she mentioned this, it made me think, I know myself included in this, like when I go on any sort of camping trip, I'm always like, I've got to overpack. And, you know, they've done this and you probably didn't need any of that stuff that you took out anyway. You know, but it is really important. And that's such a good point because people do have an anxiety about that. Like, will I have what I need? And so that's the wonderful thing that they get to depend on you guys for. Yeah,
I
go
guess
ahead.
Yeah, I guess
ahead,
I was going
Mary.
to say, I was going to
Mhm.
say the same thing. You know, I was at a point where I needed to go on a trip and I just didn't have time to organize or anything. And so I really appreciate how easy it was and that I never felt unsafe, you know, and the additional folks and organizations that were brought in. It was a great learning experience. So I really appreciate not having to even worry about anything within, you know, the group, within Kelly, within your control. The lightning bolts on the side of the little plane when we were flying back. Well, that's something that'll stay with me forever for not a good reason, probably. But we made it through that, so it wasn't a big deal. But you know, I really just appreciate you taking care of everything. It was great. And you know, I do have to say though, at one point when you said, you know, well, let me back up. I really like, you know, before meals and stuff, where you would give us a rundown on the next day and what we needed, and it just was really easy. You know, what do we need in our backpack? Tell me where to be and just point me in the right direction. It was perfect for me. But when you told us that we had to retie our shoes after we hiked a little bit, at first I was like, you have to be kidding me. But I understand where you're coming from. But even that was cool. It was all good. So I really appreciate it. Thanks again.
Yeah, if I can do anything that's gonna like save someone some, you know, it's funny because we don't say things for like no reason. And so the only reason I know to tell people to retie their shoes after they've gone up and down like steep inclines and stuff is because people get loosey slappy within their shoes. And so I've seen people, you know, like need to retie. And it's just things like that that you can you know, would I have known that my first year of being a triple leader on this? Probably not, but from experiencing it year after year after year, and seeing what helps people and to know how to, you know, make sure that people don't get blisters for the rest of their vacation. You know, those are things that are I love to learn from all of the different participants. And I learned that from a really hardcore hiker that had come on our trip. So, you know, we get to share a lot of things with you, but we also get to take a lot of things in return and get to learn about each and every single one of you and all of the things that you have to add in your words of wisdom as well, which is really special.
Jennifer, did you want to go? Yeah.
Yeah, not to discount our friend Pepe, but what I would say is just how valuable it was and how enriching it was to me to be on a trip with just women. And it's the second one that I've been on. And I just find that, you know, we experience the same things in life, and we just, I think, you know, women need women, with the company of women. And you know, I'm alone, and I just really found that I love the company and the camaraderie and you know, just the shared experiences. So you know, and there's, for women who, you know, either their partners don't want to travel or can't travel, or they don't have a partner or a friend to go with, well, you don't need one. This is a ready-made group of friends, and it's really a special way to travel. I'd really recommend it.
I love that. Anybody else before we wrap up today? I have learned so much from you guys. No? Pepe, any last words?
Well, let me tell you, the first option that Tara had before she hired me as a guide was a girl. And I feel really, you know, sometimes I feel really that the leader should be a girl, because it's very appropriate for the nature of the group, for the whole topic of the theme of the group, becoming an outdoor woman, or you know, women traveling. I happen to insist, I guess, more to get the job. And we had such a great connection with Tara that she kept calling me year after year. But definitely, I agree with Jennifer that probably a girl should lead or should be guiding these groups. I am very fortunate. I really am. And believe me, I learn a lot about women every year, about physiology, about, you know, whatever goes on, because they talk a lot and I'm right there, you know. So it's a learning experience for me too. And
But I
it's
think it was
invaluable.
still
It's
fun to
really
have
priceless.
you, Pepe. It didn't take away from the group of women having you. It was an added dimension. So that was fun too.
I agree. Plus you have a great feminine side.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for being a trip leader for both high school groups and co-ed groups and then women's groups, each of them has a different dynamic. But and I think that having a mixed group overall would have changed the whole dynamic. Is kind of what I feel like Jennifer was talking to, having a group of women there to have a shared experience in that way, and that, you know, we can concentrate on things that mostly, you know, we knew that when someone needed to use the bathroom, that weak bladders can happen, and, you know, you need to make that happen. And there were women's issues that we can cover in total, but having the guide necessarily be a woman, I don't necessarily know that that's I don't know that that's necessary, because para hires the best of guides. And you are on this trip, Pepe, for a reason, because you are the best for our group in Costa Rica. And I think that any other guide wouldn't offer us the complete and totally immersive experience that you do. So yeah, I mean, I think that and it's not only on the Costa Rica trip, it's on all of the trips. All of the guides for Green Adventures are very vetted. And so when you're going on these, that you're going to get the very best guides in the area and all of the things that you have to offer, because she's gone through it year after year after year. And, and we did things out and added things in. So don't sell yourself short, my Costa Rican friend.
Well, thank you.
No, and really, to be honest, I think that most of you guys would probably say the leaders and the guides really make those trips. So you want the best of the best, and I know Tara does just that. And so I am really eager to get the chance to travel with you guys one day. And I just really appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing some of the intricate kind of details of your stories. And if no one has anything else, we're going to wrap up today. And just thanks for talking to us about your Costa Rica wild and off the beaten path adventure. And we will see you next time. And I want to end today with take the peace of the mangroves with you. And I will not forget that. And I haven't even seen the mangroves yet. So thank you guys so much. We're going to go, but it was so good to meet you.
Thank you.
I miss